Shut up and sit down.
Hi, Zach.
Hi, Sonny.
Hey, thanks for doing this today.
My pleasure.
We are in Christie's auction house.
We are.
Right?
We're right here in the Christie's Gallery in Beverly Hills. Normally, these walls would be covered with priceless works of art, but we're in between exhibitions, and so the gallery's available to us.
Okay. And thank you for providing this location. We've known each other for a while now, and of course, we got introduced to each other through Christie's Real Estate. You are in charge of?
Well, I'm the executive director of the Western North America and all of Asia Pacific. I have office here in Beverly Hills and in Hong Kong. 145 or so affiliates today around the world. And these are companies, individual offices. There are nearly 1,000 offices around the world because some of the companies obviously have multi-offices. And we're in 46 countries around the world.
First question I'm sure a lot of people are asking is coronavirus pandemic. What's going on in the luxury real estate market?
Well, if you had asked me about 6 months ago, I would have been biting my nails. Our sales virtually stopped in most markets, but here we are 6 months later, and it is a record year. All of the affiliate brokerages that we work with around the world are having a record year. Specifically here in North America, they're doing exceptionally well.
And also, people are asking, I'm sure, why do you know so much about this luxury market?
Well, I cut my teeth selling real estate. I was a realtor in Newport Beach, California, which is a very affluent community, so we had very high-end real estate. I was very fortunate in that regard. I became very involved at all levels of real estate. I ran a brokerage and then got involved in organized real estate and came to the attention of another auction house, Sotheby's, and they recruited me to manage their business in the western United States. Everything west of the Mississippi River and literally all of Latin and South America. So I had a very large, expansive territory, and I got to see a lot of different markets, and I learned luxury firsthand in every market in the western United States for sure.
Right, it's funny because I was also with Sotheby's before.
Yeah.
And something changed, right, in Sotheby's operation.
Sure. Sotheby's decided to sell their real estate company, the division, if you will, and they sold it to a franchisor who franchises other real estate brands like Century 21 and Coldwell Banker. They simply use a different label for each company. When they did that, I left very soon afterwards.
A lot of people did, right? A lot of people left from
Quite
Sotheby's.
a few people left,
Christie's,
yes.
yeah.
And it was just not the same. It was a great opportunity to work for the franchisor, and they were good people, and they've done a good job, but it was not quite the same as working for the art auction company.
Now, the Christie's Real Estate is the only auction house-owned real estate company. So.
Right, we are, and actually that sale was the impetus for a lot of growth within Christie's Real Estate, because many of the brokers that had been involved with Sotheby's came over and became affiliated with Christie's at that time.
How long ago was that?
2004, 2005.
Do you have any properties or projects that you can describe that's a little unusual or different, or something that's like owned by celebrities that you can talk about that
Sure.
you dealt with in the past?
Well, we do have a lot of celebrity properties.
Right.
We, unlike others, don't always talk about our clients. It's just part of the ethos of the auction company and a great client-vendor relationship. So sometimes celebrities don't mind, and we're happy to share that information when we have permission to do so. But we're not always flaunting it, as you might see from other real estate companies. But we do have many notable properties around the world. One your audience might be familiar with, I.M. Pei, perhaps the most important architect of the 20th century.
Right.
We're selling his home in Manhattan.
Right.
And it's a wonderful home, and it's a case where the celebrity factor, the family didn't mind our using his name because it was very personal to them, and they were happy to share it with the world. And the family has actually been very much involved in the marketing of that property.
You know, the short time that I've been with Christie's affiliate and dealing with auction house, I think one of the projects that I remember that was a very celebrity named project that relates to relationship, real estate, as well as artwork, is the Rockefeller family project. Right?
We sold the estate of David Rockefeller,
Right.
which was one of the most important auctions really that has taken place in recent memory. And we divided the auction up into different categories. They had collected so many wonderful things. The art collection was almost without parallel.
That was like a classic case of the why auction house owns a real estate company, right?
Exactly. We were able to market both real estate and art together.
Collection,
And it made a wonderful statement. The auction set all kinds of records and was really a philanthropic auction, benefited charity to Mr. Rockefeller's favorite charity, so it was really an important one. And of course, the Rockefellers had great ties to Asia, so we really promoted that sale as well as the real estate in Asia.
I remember as the auction house showcased all the art collections in Japan, in Hong Kong, in China, as well as the real estate that they were selling in New York.
That's something we're able to do, is to take a selection from any premier auction like the Rockefeller auction and put it on a traveling exhibition and take it to, usually Hong Kong is high on the list because it's one of our three major hubs, being New York and London being the others. We had, I think, an exhibition in Tokyo and Taiwan as well as in Hong Kong. And it traveled to Dubai, Moscow as well. So.
I know this is kind of an unfair question, but if people were looking for investment properties anywhere in the world right now, and I know there are places that's booming, and there are places that's actually not doing that well, and they might have an opportunities there.
Yeah.
Where would you look to for that kind of chances?
Today, people are looking for lifestyle.
Right.
They're looking for the place where they want to spend the next pandemic with their family. That's the reason we see many families who can afford to do so migrating to Hawaii. We're both very familiar with it.
Right.
But on the island of Maui, the sales, it is the best year ever. And it's really difficult to ascertain how this happened when Hawaii has been virtually shut down during the entire pandemic. Experiencing people buying sight unseen.
And buyers are mostly from North America, mainland, right?
Most of these are moving from North America.
Yeah.
In this particular instance, in Maui, I could be even more specific, mostly from California, and a high number of them from Silicon Valley.
Right, right. So a lot of IT-related company employees and executives.
Yeah, and people who can make a decision.
Right.
And making a decision to buy a home online, it's not a life-changing decision for them. However, a move to Hawaii is life-changing, and so they're pulling the trigger, making those decisions. On one of the other islands in the Hawaiian chain, the big island of Hawaii, they're having record sales in all price ranges. And the more moderately priced homes in the 500,000 US dollars up to, say, $1.5 million US dollars, particularly in the Hilo area, are being snapped up right and left. It's just really
And they're
amazing.
local buyers.
Beg your pardon?
Local buyers?
Not so much.
Really?
People buying them from
Overseas.
online. The local market, unfortunately, has been stymied a bit in Hawaii because
Economy.
there's so much involved in the travel industry. But there are local buyers that are selling their homes and moving to a bigger home, so they have a greater space to enjoy. They're looking for different things, perhaps an office for a husband and an office for a wife, and a place for the kids to go to school or to do homeschooling.
Right.
And these are things that have not necessarily been factors in the past, but it's changed. I think that any place, there's a far greater emphasis on suburban centers or rural areas, depending on what one can afford. And we think that will continue into the future. Certainly the cities are going to come back. We'll see great interest in San Francisco and in New York City. New York City will never die.
Okay.
But with that said, there are many, many people who live in New York City who are looking to buy elsewhere. And not only as a second home, I was speaking with a ranch broker from Montana this week. And he
Ranch
was
as in
a cowboy.
cowboys, right?
Big
Okay.
western ranches
Right.
like we have in Wyoming and Montana, and which have always been very popular with the Wall Street mogul, with the Hollywood A-lister, Trophy Ranch being the ultimate acquisition. But today, they are seeing families that are relocating to live and to raise their family in this kind of rural, wholesome environment. And so those areas we think are going to continue to do well into the foreseeable future.
What do you see in the Asian market? I mean, do you hear anything about like Taiwan, China, Hong Kong, all those places?
Well,
and Japan that
in Japan, of course, has had very stringent controls since the advent of, or the onset of COVID-19, and that stymied the market somewhat.
Right.
But we do see movement in Asia. Taiwan has done very well, and they have been the recipient, I think, of some of the international turmoil, perhaps. We've seen families that perhaps moved from Taiwan to open a factory in mainland China, and the children are growing up and they want to move back to Taiwan. That's actually happening now. And of course, people just wanting to get out of the midst of so much international turmoil. Of course, Hong Kong has experienced that too, and sales have been down, but some aggressive companies are still doing well in Hong Kong. But Taiwan, again, has been the beneficiary of some of Hong Kong's troubles, as has Singapore.
Do you have any project or property that you can actually share with us today, to the audience, that's exceptional project or properties that people
Sure.
otherwise won't have any access to or have knowledge of?
Yeah, we have a number of properties like this. But one of the areas that we've seen growth during this period are in the major estates that may be removed from but accessible to major urban centers. So estates out in New Jersey or up in Westchester County are apart from Manhattan, but yet they have easy accessibility. So some of the great estates like this that maybe had languished on the market for even years have been selling at record prices because they've suddenly become very desirable. We have one such home, hasn't languished on the market for years, relatively new to the market, up in Silicon Valley. As a matter of fact, it's almost in the neighborhood of one of your Japanese compatriots, Masayoshi's son of SoftBank, has bought a major estate not too far from this property. This property has 74 acres right in the heart of Silicon Valley, less than a half hour from Facebook and Google, and 20 minutes from San Francisco International Airport, but yet it is a true safe haven. It's accessible, but yet it's private.
And it's priced at?
And it's private. The price, we can only reveal the price to qualified clients. It's north of $100 million.
Oh, $100 million.
Yeah, and it's a historic home, great provenance, and magnificent grounds, and would make a wonderful family compound. There's a major home and 6 other additional homes on the property. So for someone who's looking to spend $100 million,
did you see buyers, international buyers, or what are you expecting?
We do see an international buyer, but it just as easily could be a local buyer who's looking for those things of seclusion and privacy, yet accessibility, near to where they work. And we have, of course, an abundance of billionaires in Silicon Valley, and they're all on the short list, for this kind of property. But so are wealthy individuals, even from China, where we get lots of inquiry.
Okay. Doing real estate globally like this, I know you get to meet a lot of different kind of people, or experience a lot of different situations with the different people. What is your motivation? What is something that you like about what you're doing right now? Why do you keep doing what you're doing? I guess that's the question.
Well, my wife reminds me every day if I complain about anything, said, you have the greatest job in the world. Said, there are 1 million people would love to be doing what you're doing. And I have to remind myself of that because I am very fortunate. During normal times, I do travel most of the time. And fortunately, I can weather the travel well. I enjoy it. It's a challenge. Sometimes I get tired, but I never get tired of traveling. And so that's a big reward. I meet people from all different nationalities and learn about real estate in all of these different markets. Real estate's transacted differently around the world. And we operate in all of those markets, and very often we're selling to people from elsewhere. So it's really important that we understand the customs and regulations in every single market where we work. So that's been a challenge and keeps my work really fresh and exciting. The other thing is I spend much of my life in beautiful homes, the most beautiful homes in the world. I get to see them all. And I meet a lot of interesting people because most of the time interesting homes are owned by very interesting people. And as our relationship in business turned into a friendship, very often that's the case with people for whom we sell their home.
Okay.
I'm always happy to talk about real estate, and I love to talk about Japan. I have a daughter-in-law from Osaka.
I wasn't sure when I would expose
and
that information.
Two wonderful grandkids who are just as fluent and comfortable in Japan as they are in America.
Right.
So I'm very close to Japan, and it's great to speak to a Japanese audience. And we really look forward to growing our business to a greater degree in Japan. And we plan on